A heartful hello to all the participants and contributors to this wonderful planetary peace-building event, A Source of Wonder. I am Mila Popovich, and I'm thankful for the kind invitation of the Goy Peace Foundation and Masami and Hiru Sayonji and the Club of Budapest and Dr. Irving Laszlo. It is wonderful to be able to join you in this critical moment and to be a part of the gathering of the voices of conscious evolution that is so much needed. When we see that the frameworks of old paradigm are falling apart and the new leadership for transformation, conscious evolution, liberation, and emancipation are needed. It is exactly the voices of organizations such as this that are needed, and our joint coming together in interbeing, co-belonging, and co-evolving. Speaking of my path and my passion for peace building, I can tell you that nobody can understand how desperately we need organizations, leaders, initiatives, movements for peace building more than a person that has gone through civil wars. I was born in Montenegro, a part of former Yugoslavia, is a powerful place at the intersection of East and West that after the fall of the Berlin Wall experienced civil wars. I immigrated to the US, where I've been living for the past 25 years, and entered this young, restless democracy and its own turmoil of its own unique kind, witnessing the stretching of human condition and also now the unbearable trifecta of distresses such as climate emergency, economic distress, pandemic, but also witnessing at the same time the rising of the social agency, the activation of social force and consciousness for building a better world, for standing up to that which affronts human dignity, and for liberating the creativity of people as that divine spark within all of us, driven to realize our full human potential and to manifest the new paradigm of human development. Witnessing these kind of fermenting and bubbling moments on the global scale made me realize how important it is to be multivalent, to have the capacity to connect to different communities, to show up on different stages, to use any and every platform and any and every guise and any capacity to speak on behalf of peace, prosperity, well-being, human dignity. Looking back at this occasion, at my own condition, coming from a small country and into the Rome of the day, if you will, in the US, I realized that I experienced a profound loss of home and gaining of the world that was quite traumatic. And at the same time, it was a breakthrough into the larger humanity in the world and the sense of that interdependence and the sense of the necessity to develop planetary consciousness. From my small country, where I was developing till my mid-20s, studying and performing in a folklore ensemble, I continued on the same double track in the US, developing myself into an academic and an expert in humanities, but also continuing my multifaceted performance capacities, because in them, I found that there are ways, and they are the pathways to connect to different communities and to fend that loneliness and that desolation. That was the result of the civil wars that I've experienced in my country. And so from that singular identity of being a person from a certain part of the world and identifying with the nation state or a certain demographic, I erupted into the world, realizing that the greatest possibility for me and the saving grace would be to diversify the self, facing so many extraordinary communities in the US, experiencing the rainbow of humanity, also exploring capacities in which to connect to them. I realized that there was this kind of radiating process for me from the heart space and multiple rays of that light that connected me to different communities such as Latino communities, Native American communities, Middle Eastern communities, Asian communities. It has been an extraordinary experience to be able to reach out to many and to mirror back to them the genius of their cultures that I, as a foreigner to them, was able to do, particularly through dance and poetry. My realization that it was the trinity of human development embodied in the academic growth, in athletics as kinetic development, and in arts is an integral development of human potential. That I found the means, the media for expression of that fine, ethereal substance that connects all humans, all human hearts, is the source of universal needs and aspirations, and is also the source of universal values that are going to carry us forward. From this process, I felt, as I said earlier, that I lost a home only to gain the world. And I felt that somehow my heart was cracked open, never to close again, through this alchemical process of burning in the crucibles of historical conditions, the overall sense of empathy with the human condition, and the need to apply myself to better that condition. And so my ideals from former Yugoslavia, which was a founder of the non-alignment movement in the Cold War, rejecting the polarizing politics that were dividing people and human psyche and planet, the third way, if you will. Once that unbelievable social project fell apart and unrest erupted, those values actually, like the flame, the ember at the core of my being, carried me forward and gave me strength and energy to go forward and connect to the purposes and the visions and the values that are in the foundations of the United Nations, as well as organization that I became a member of, World Academy of Art and Science, that was founded by Bertrand Russell and Albert Einstein on these values of science serving humanity, on the values of spirited science, if you will, and scientific spirituality. And applying myself and as an academic, exploring parallel to it, my artistic expression, I diversified my interests and started practicing different dance forms in particular, besides poetry and organizing poetry and art community for social transformation. But dance, unlike the speaking in the academic domain, the speaking, the writing, and the organizing, was that incredible medium that was profoundly emotional, without verbal expression, ephemeral, passing, and yet powerfully impactful, as I have witnessed, that gave me capacity to connect with different communities. Before I show you some images from my work to show you the diversity as the unique sourcing for me, through which I was able to connect diversity of humanity, and equally to receive back from different walks of life, regions, and cultures, nurturance for my heart to continue, and validation to continue the work that I've been doing in the performing arts world. But before that, I want to share you something, a very brief poem that essentially captures the condition with which I found myself in the world. And that condition is called ectopia cordis. It's a unique condition where the baby is born with the heart outside of its chest. That's what it has felt like for me. And it is a difficult condition and an extraordinary capacity, granted that we need a truly empathetic revolution in the world to connect us at a higher level for a higher purpose and to greater unity and diversity. Ectopia cordis, vernal unfoldings of epithelial misgivings, cordial holograms of the pulsing multiplied always somewhere else, heard, unheard of, undecoded, misplaced messages, signaling in discord, syncopated impulses, amiss, miss, amiss, miss, So for all the displaced people in the world, our only anchoring is in the heart. Our only saving grace and deliverance is going within, where there is the wherewithal to carry forward. And such is my message to all of humanity. The time is now, and we're already connected in that empathetic revolution that we're experiencing in the streets at the highest level of excellence of all forms. And I call on you to express the beauty of your full human potential for a more peaceful and prosperous world that we know is possible. And exactly because of the challenges that we're feeling and experiencing today, we understand that it's highly necessary. This is of the highest urgency and necessity to build peace in the world, building the initiatives such as Goy Peace Foundation and the Club of Budapest, among other international, extraordinary international initiatives and organizations that have been carrying the torch forward. I want to show you ways in which I have organized my work into a practice program and community called Evolving Leadership, realizing that we have to lead from that vision and values that honors all humanity. These are the dance forms that I practiced: flamenco, Middle Eastern dance. I experienced some extraordinary events, initiatives. This one in particular is focused on the Middle Eastern dances, but also focused on peace in the Middle East. An extraordinary collective of artists from all over the world that have been working for decades on peace building and educating on the wonderful sharing of arts and culture across regions. These are some of the expressions that have made me connected to these communities and their great richness of their gifts and the ancient knowledge of the feminine leadership principle that I've discovered while researching these cultures. And then flamenco, that has been one of my most passionate expressions and that has connected me to Spanish, Latino communities that have appreciated this, but equally to Japanese communities that have appreciated the form of flamenco and its roots so tremendously. With time, I've gotten profoundly interested in transformative theater, in experimental theater and multimedia theater, and started producing with a collective in Denver, in Colorado, and became the founding member of a wonderful ensemble called Transition Theater. One of our taglines has been spiritualize your ambition. We've been focused on creating arts for ascension, focusing on spiritual themes, human potential unleashing and development. In one of those key performances, we recreated the myth of the Indian goddess Kali for the 21st century, as she is the destroyer of all excuses not to grow and the supporter of our courage and courageous conviction in universal values and personal growth. During that production, we have discovered an extraordinary capacity to express these spiritual themes, and then went on to create a triptych called Initiation, focusing on this tormented youth that is trying to find its way to the innocent mother that is birthing the earth, the cosmic mother that is birthing the earth, and then focusing on the wise crone and her leadership in the world as the third stage of that initiation. And of course, the emergence of that light from the heart that sees the universal value, that sees the possibility for realization of the new world and takes off flight in that faith. Today, I would like to share with you a unique piece that we have created with Transition Theater, specially made for a source of wonder, for that spark in the heart, for that flame that illuminates the inner chambers the inner sanctum of our being, that is our truth, that is our ultimate reality, that is that immortal flame that carries us forward. On the path of our development, these grand initiations of birth, death, and resurrection are the markers of the grand cycle, and that amazing change that enables us to realize our immortality and to enables us to realize that our true purpose is service to each other, that our true purpose is conscious evolution, that we belong to each other. In that sense, we belong to a higher purpose of peace building. And I invite you today to savor the pieces that are called Mother as we emerge into the new age of the integration of genders, polarities, and develop another way, a more gracious matrix, and the mother of evolution, and the rise of the feminine leadership that is there only to integrate the polarities within ourselves and without into the greater world. In that name, thank you again for this wonderful initiation that I've undergone with you through this event. Carry on with that flame.